Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Emma. Today's video is going to be a winter trends video. In this video I'm just going to be talking you through all the things that I'm loving for winter fashion wise. Some of these things might be on trend, some of them are just random things that I've seen around that I'm really gravitating towards. I have done a few of these in the past. I did do one in autumn and I did also do a winter one last year, and I think a lot of those things that I mentioned in those videos I'm still loving for this winter. But I want to just sit down and talk you through some new things that I'm really loving for this winter in particular. I will insert images of the things that I'm talking about just to give you some visuals, just so you can see what I'm about in case I'm not articulating myself very well. But yeah, if you do enjoy these videos and you do enjoy trends videos, I'd love if you could give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below anything that you're loving for winter 2025, 2026. I actually cannot believe we're almost at the end of the year already, but without further ado, let's just get on into the video. Okay, so we're going to start out with outerwear. I love coats. When I film these videos, I always mention different style coats and jackets, but this year I'm really gravitating towards the look of duffel coats. This feels quite nostalgic for me and quite like a trend that's coming back around, because I used to wear a duffel coat as my school coat. I had a navy duffel coat with a hood. Yeah, so it feels very nostalgic for me and they like remind me of my school days. I actually watched the Dead Poets Society the other week, and in that video they wear duffel coats as their school coats, and I really love them. I really love the look of duffel coats, and I've definitely started to see a few more around on Instagram and Pinterest, and people styling them on TikTok and things, and I really just love the look of them. Like I say, for me they're very nostalgic. They remind me of my childhood, but also I think they're just kind of quite a fun coat. I don't always love buttoning up my coats, which sometimes for practical reasons I do need to be buttoning up my coat to stay warm. Just having that duffel buttons I think is really fun. It just adds an extra element to the coat. It actually makes like doing up the coat like best way to wear it rather than wearing it open, because you get to use the duffel buttons, and I really like the look of them. I feel like a duffel coat can look a little bit more casual than just a classic wool coat with just normal buttons. I think having that duffel coat detailing just really like spruces up the coat a little bit. And yeah, I've seen quite a few around, and like I say, I've been really loving the look of them. Don't know if I'm going to invest in one myself personally. I think if I was going to, I'd go for a navy one, just because I don't have a navy coat. But I do own a lot of coats, so I'm not sure if it's something I'm going to invest in, but I have seen it on other people and I really love the look of them. I definitely also think a duffel coat is something that you could find second hand, just because like I say, they've been around for years. And yeah, I just really love the look of a duffel coat. I think it's just a bit of a fun detailing to a coat, just like that fun toggle button. I've seen toggle buttons coming back around quite a lot. I've seen them like on cardigans, and I really like the look of them on cardigans as well. So just that like toggle detailing I think looks really cool, and especially on a duffel coat I'm really loving the look of those for winter 2025-2026. Okay, and then to kind of following on from that, it's kind of similar, but it's jumpers with like a neck button detailing. So I actually tried one on in a charity shop. I didn't end up picking it up because it was a little bit expensive, but it was a Ralph Lauren jumper, and I really love the detailing of that. I personally, as you can probably tell, really quite like a high neck jumper, especially for winter. It's just really cozy. I like having the neck covered, but I really like the idea of having a bit of like button detailing on the neck somewhere. I've seen a lot of them with like buttons coming up the side. That seems to be a popular thing. I've seen a couple actually with like a buckle fastening, which I think is really cool. But I think they're really good, especially if you're somebody who likes the look of a high neck but sometimes can find them quite suffocating. Having that like button or buckle detailing, so you could like loosen up the neck a little bit, just makes them a little bit more comfortable, a little less like claustrophobic on your neck. I think just adding like a little bit of button detailing or like buckling or something like that just really adds a little bit of a fun element to a jumper. Again, just kind of elevates the piece, just makes it a little bit more interesting. It can be a very simple just like cream jumper, but then having like a buckle or button detailing I think is always really fun. I always think of the one that Rachel Green wears where she's got like the buckle going across her chest. I think that's a little bit out there, but I think just having like a little bit of button or buckle detailing on the like neck top part of the jumper, like here, this sort of area, I think it's just really fun just to elevate a jumper for the winter. Again, I feel like this is something I could probably find second hand, and I think I will have like a look around. Like, yeah, I'd like to find one second hand just so it's a little bit more unique. But yeah, just kind of elevating like a jumper a little bit, just adding a little bit of extra detailing. I think it's just a really fun way to spruce up your knitwear for winter. Okay, and then the next thing is not a particular like piece, but it's a way of styling, and I'm really loving people styling jackets under coats. I think this is actually really clever, and it's something that I've never done myself, but I feel like when it's getting to really cold parts of winter, I feel like just wearing a jacket almost as a top underneath your coat just for an added layer is a really good idea. Obviously it's practical for the weather when it's cold, but I think it can look really cool. Also means you can get more use out of your jackets, because I feel like if there's a particular jacket that you loved like throughout the autumn season and it's a little bit too cold to wear that now, I think just wearing a coat over the top is just a really practical way of styling it for the colder season. And yeah, I think it can look really cool. I actually recently styled a short trench coat buttoned all the way to the top, and I thought actually that would look really cool under a coat. If you're going somewhere, like you can put the coat on over top, and then once you're inside, if you still want a bit of a jacket piece because it's still a little bit chilly, but you can take the coat off because you've still got a bit of outerwear on. Making more use of those jackets in your wardrobe, kind of switching up styling a little bit, and I think it can look really cool. I've seen it done a lot with like blazers, but I think it'd be good to have a jacket actually buttoned up underneath your coat. Spruce up your outfits a little bit, obviously make them a little bit more practical for the cold weather because you're wearing two outwear pieces. But yeah, I feel like it's just a really fun styling idea, especially in this time of year when we're starting to wear coats all the time. It gets a little bit repetitive sometimes, especially if you only have a couple of coats in your wardrobe. Just wearing the same coat on repeat can get a bit repetitive. I think just finding new ways to style it is really fun. But yeah, I think that's just going to be a really fun way to layer this season, and something that I definitely want to experiment with in my wardrobe. Okay, and then kind of similar to this is another idea of layering, and I've seen this quite a lot on the high street this year, probably at like end of summer coming into autumn, and definitely coming into winter, but it is layering pieces. Whenever I normally wear a crew neck jumper, I always like pairing a t-shirt or something underneath of a different colour, just to get that little pop of colour and coming from underneath, and like I said, just add a little bit of extra interest to the outfit. But I've actually seen brands now coming out with almost like having that layer inbuilt into the piece. I saw one in Zara back in the summer that I really loved. That was like a knitted t-shirt, and it was a beige, and it looked like it had a white t-shirt underneath, and I really loved that look. And I've definitely seen it like translate up through to autumn winter, and doing it with jumpers, so having a jumper and then almost having like a trim on the end to make it look like you've got a piece layered underneath. I've also seen it like with long sleeve tops with like vests layered over the top, and obviously that is something you can invest in, but I think it's also something that you can very easily do with pieces in your wardrobe. For me, I have a lot of basics in like very like classic colours, and I feel like this is something I can definitely play around with within my own wardrobe and layering my own pieces. So like if I want to wear like just a long sleeve black top, maybe layering a long sleeve white top underneath as well, obviously helping with warmth for the winter season, but then also just adding a little bit of added interest to an outfit. I have definitely seen brands making tops look like they're layered, but they're all one piece. But I feel like it is something you can very easily do in your wardrobe just by layering like a couple of t-shirts or a couple of like long sleeve, wearing my own black long sleeve with a black vest over the top. I don't think it's necessarily something you have to invest in. I mean, if this is something that you really want to invest in, I think it's something you can do. But again, I think it's just a fun way for playing around with your wardrobe. Like I say, because in winter I feel like we're having to dress more practical for the cold weather, outfits can become a little bit more simple and a little bit more repetitive. So I really like playing around with my styling a lot more in winter, and just playing around with layering and having more fun with them layering pieces and staying practical and warm. So yeah, I'm really loving that layered look. And then the next thing that I want to mention is specifically in knitwear, and that is 2 prints. One of these I did briefly mention in my wish list video, I believe, and the first print is Argyle. I am really loving Argyle print. I am someone who loves knitwear, and I own quite a few bits of knitwear, but like I say, sometimes I just like to add extra pieces into my wardrobe that are a little bit more interesting, and I think a printed piece of knitwear is a really nice way to do that. So I'm definitely on the hunt for an Argyle printed jumper. I think it's just a very classic print. I feel like prints do come back around in the trend cycle, but I feel like an Argyle is a classic print that is, it can be pretty much a neutral, almost like stripes in my wardrobe. I feel like Argyle's not like a pattern that's so out there that it's ever off trend, if that makes sense. So I would really like to look at getting an Argyle jumper. And then the other knit that I'm really gravitating towards, and I do feel like this is definitely more of a December Christmas. It's something that I associate with December and Christmas, and that is a Fair Isle print. I actually do already have a jumper in my wardrobe that is a Fair Isle style print, and I really love it, but I think they just look really cozy. I think it's a really nice way to incorporate almost like a Christmas jumper without having like a Santa Claus on the front. I think if you're wanting to get like a winter Christmassy jumper but still feels quite stylish and quite elevated, I feel like a Fair Isle print is a really good way to go. But again, I just really love the look of Fair Isle prints on jumpers. Again, just elevating a little bit of a basic piece and just having a print, but you can, you can still get those prints in a neutral tone if you're more of a neutral wearer, so it still works with the rest of your wardrobe and it's still a very wearable piece, but it's just a little bit more elevated with that print. Again, also I feel like this is something I could definitely find secondhand, and almost kind of would prefer to find secondhand, because I feel like that Fair Isle print almost gives me like a vintage feel, so I would like to find a secondhand vintage jumper with a Fair Isle print rather than going to buy one from the high street, because yeah, I feel like they just give that classic cozy winter look. But I feel like it's definitely something that I would gravitate more towards like December time, because I do kind of associate Fair Isle with Christmas in mind, and yeah, it just gives that like cozy winter Christmassy feel without being like a very overt Christmas jumper. Okay, and then the next thing is plaid skirts, specifically plaid maxi skirts. In my autumn trends video I mentioned fun trousers, and they are definitely still on my radar. I have a pair of corduroys that I feel like I'm going to be wearing all throughout winter, and I feel like having a plaid printed skirt is kind of a similar idea. I suppose it's kind of similar to the idea of the printed jumpers, and it's just having a piece that's a little bit more interesting, not necessarily plain, but it's still a classic print in my eyes. Plaid I feel like is something that comes back around every autumn winter, especially in winter, especially like a red plaid. I've seen like a couple of like dark navy, dark green skirts that I really like the look of. I definitely want a maxi one. I've seen actually one with like buckles on the side. A maxi skirt is something that I don't always gravitate towards in the winter, but I want to gravitate more towards this winter, because I feel like it's something you can definitely dress for the colder weather, like if you layer up with tights or leggings and like a boot. I think they look really fun, and it's just a nice way to wear a skirt in winter. It's just with a maxi skirt, and I feel like just having a plaid print would make it a little bit more fun, and yeah, kind of work for the winter season. And then I can wear it with my more plain knitwear because it's got that print. I definitely think I would want one in a more darker tone, like a green or dark navy, but I've been seeing people style like a long plaid skirt, and I think they look really cool. I actually also really love when people style clashing prints, so if you had a plaid skirt with like a clashing print on a jumper or something. That's probably not my personal style, but I really love seeing that on other people. I think that looks really fun, and it's just a way to like jazz up the winter wardrobe. I feel like we can get quite boring in winter with our outfits. I feel like all of these things on the list are just small ways of like elevating a winter outfit and making it a little bit more interesting, but still trying to keep it within my comfort zone. So yeah, I'm really loving the look of plaid skirts, just with like my black knee-high boots with black tights, a jumper. Also, another thing that I always struggle with in winter is dressing a little bit smarter for like evening wear. I feel like a plaid maxi skirt would work really well elevating an outfit. Like I feel like it could be a nice dinner outfit with like a nice pointed heeled boot and like a nice fitted black jumper or something. I feel like could be really nice for like an evening outfit for winter. But yeah, I'm really just loving the look of plaid skirts. I've seen quite a few around, and I love seeing people style them. Okay, and then lastly, I wanted to mention a couple of accessories that I'm drawn to. So the first one is a pair of leather gloves. I just feel like a leather glove is a little bit more elevated. I feel like a lot of my gloves and scarves that I have are casual wear, and I really just love the idea of a leather glove. I think it looks really chic, and yeah, obviously very practical for the cold weather, because my hands are always freezing cold. But I just really love the look of the leather glove. I think it's, like I say, just a bit more of an elevated piece than wearing like a wool glove. I still love a wool glove, and I think I mentioned in my last year's winter trends more bold knitted accessories, which I'm still loving, but I would love a leather pair of gloves. Also, because a lot of things that I wear in winter are oversized, I feel like just having a leather glove that's a little bit more fitted to your hand than like a woolen glove juxtaposes the oversizedness of an outfit. I am often wearing like a big chunky oversized jumper and a big oversized wool coat, so I think just having a leather glove will just kind of balance the outfit a little bit. But yeah, I'm just really loving the look of a leather glove at the moment. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm really drawn to is hats. Particularly, I'm really drawn to the look of like baker cap, I think they're called. Think Keira Knightley. in Love Actually. I've seen these kind of floating around on the high street and I'm not sure if it is something that I'm going to invest in for myself. I don't know if they suit me, but I love a hat. I wear a lot of beanies in the winter and I wear a lot of caps throughout the rest of the season, and I feel like going into winter having like a little baker boy hat, it's kind of like the combination of those two, and I think again they can just look really, really fun. Again, like I said earlier, I feel like winter outfits can be quite boring, so just adding like a fun accessory of a hat, number one, it's obviously very practical, like I keep saying for all of these things, but I think can just look really fun and chic. Also really good for like bad hair days, if I want to cover up my hair or if it's like raining. And yeah, I've really been loving styling them. Like I say, I'm not sure if I suit them, so I'm not sure if it is going to be for me. Just a fun accessory to jazz up the winter outfits. They are one of those things I will say that I've not seen in person. They are something I've only ever seen online on like Instagram or Pinterest, so I don't know if it's going to be a trend that transfers over to like seeing it on people on the street, but I think they look cool. And if I saw you on the street in one of those hats, I think you look really, really cool. But yeah, that is everything that I wanted to mention in this video. Like I said at the beginning, if you do enjoy these trends videos, I'd love if you could give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what you're loving for winter fashion wise, any trends that you're loving. If you're new to my channel, I'd love it if you could subscribe, and I will see you all next week for a brand new one. Goodbye.